extra especially much for coming out today, because I know that everyone's got a lot on their calendars this time of year. I just want to spread some joy and appreciation for our Connect Boulder partners and sponsors. Big thanks to the City of Boulder for sponsoring our lunch today. And we love VIA Mobility Services as always. And all of our wonderful partners, including Lime, the Way to Go program of Dr. Hogg, RT, Car Share, Recycle, Wish, and everyone else who supports our work. Today on our agenda, there are a few agendas on the tables, but we're going to dive in this morning with an important remembrance. Then we'll do some updates. We've got a wonderful presentation from Garrett Slater from the City of Boulder. And then we'll have our eagerly anticipated e-bike and e-moto conversation. And then learn a little bit more about what's happening with Eldora Mountain Resort. So I'm going to invite, before I invite Jonathan Singer up here, our staff is going to share some appreciation for our wonderful staff members. Big thanks to Elena Erb, who's out at the registration table. Yay. And there she is. And my colleague, Will Shepard, who's our instructor, TDM Outreach Specialist, and the mayor of Boulder Junction. Okay, so I'm going to introduce Jonathan Singer to share some memories of Senator Faith Winter.
All right, folks. Well, welcome, and by seeing just the amassing of people in the line here, usually I wear a slightly fancier jacket, but I'm going to do a bit of a costume change in honor of Senator Winter here. She was not a big fan of, she was a huge fan of dresses and bright colors. So, is it getting warm in here, folks? I think it is. Yeah. And orange was her favorite color. So for those of you, just a quick show of hands, how many of you here either knew Senator Winter or knew her work? All right, so pretty much everyone here. So I crunched some numbers, and over her tenure at the state legislature, she passed over 240 bills into law. 240 bills, almost 80 in her last 2 years, 42 bills on transportation alone. 42. And along with that volume and body of work that she did, she also loved dresses and hated jeans. And so I'm not wearing jeans today, couldn't find a dress, but also loved flowers and loved the beauty and brightness that it brought. And while you know her work, you may not know that I actually started organizing with her in 2002 or 2003. And I'm going to share two personal stories because you all know the hundreds of millions of dollars that she helped create for multimodal transportation. You probably also know that without her work, we wouldn't see things like paid family leave here in Colorado. Yeah, you can laugh at that one. Something that without that, I would probably not be working here today. And so what I wanted to share is two quick personal stories. The first one is, so after we organized in 2003, we ended up taking a leadership class together in 2006. We traveled the state, got to learn about everything from higher education to our prison system to farming and agriculture. And if you've ever been in a leadership program, especially when you're doing these overnights, right? We're in our early 20s, our reckless youth. And, we're sitting at a retreat center, and it's 10 o'clock at night, and I'm sitting with one group of people, she's sitting with a different group of people, and she explains, I could hear her from across the room, and she's like, I just don't get it. Why don't our elected officials do this? And you know what? We don't need to listen to the pundits. We don't need to listen. And I'm like, okay, well, it's great to be, idealistic. We'll see what happens, right? At the time, I was a social worker working with homeless families in the city and county of Denver, and so I might have been a little cynical. She changed me from being cynical to skeptical, which I think is a step up in the right direction. And then a year later, she decides to run for city council in Westminster. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go volunteer for her. So who here is like helped campaigns knocked on doors before? Just a few people. All right, I'm taking notes just in case I have problems. Okay. So I'm out there and I'm knocking on doors again. Hey, I'm Jonathan Singer, and I just wanted to tell you just a minute about my friend Faith, who's running for office. And I could get like a few of the words out. People were they were slamming the door on me, but closing the door pretty quickly. I'm like, well, what's going on here? And so I get the fourth or fifth door. A kid opens the door. I'm like, hey, is your mom or dad home? I'm volunteering for my friend Faith. And they're like, no, my parents aren't home. So I go to the next door, leave them some literature. 2 minutes later, this kid runs out the door. And he's like, hey, sir, mister. I'm like, yeah, what's up? Well, my parents got home and we already have religion. Oh, of course. So I changed my rap from that moment on. I'm volunteering for my friend Faith Winter running for city council, right? Because apparently that was my first and only experience as a Mormon missionary. It did not go well, but she did win that city council election. And then we were able to serve in the legislature. I got elected in 2012. She was just elected 2 years later. And the one thing that I'll bring up is she also was the one who stuck up for all of the interns and lobbyists that were facing sexual harassment from another lawmaker and oversaw the expulsion of that lawmaker, the first time in over a century a lawmaker had been expelled, and the only time someone has been expelled for sexual harassment. And the reason I bring that story up is because of this sticker here. Every time that I think about her, I think about these words: lift as we rise. So as we attain new levels of achievement, we experience the benefit of her work. Bring the next person with you. Lift as we rise. And you know what? I didn't realize this when that kid said we already had religion. My faith, my cynicism, my skepticism has turned into hope because of faith. And I hope that we can all remember that as we rise and live together.
Well, thank you, Jonathan. Cool. Thank you very much. Wonderful. Okay, we've got some updates, and our updates have to do with looking back, as we do at this time of year. So many wonderful things have happened this year. And one of those wonderful things that happened is that we welcomed an amazing intern from CU Boulder, Valerie Lee. Would you come up for just a second, Valerie? So Valerie worked with us for this semester, just the last few weeks, and we have so appreciated her help. I highly recommend working with CU students. They're fantastic. So we have a little token of appreciation. Is it over?
Thank you, Valerie.
Thank you, Valerie, for everything. Some of the wonderful things that Valerie did was she helped us to do some outreach about the Boulder Valley Employee Study, and did some work with Karen on the Gun Microtransit project and a lot of great things. So fantastic. Thank you so much. Other wonderful things. So this year, many of you, there are lots of people from the city here. So as you will recall, at the beginning of this year, there was a lot of community outreach about the Folsom Street Safety Improvements Project and the North 30th Street Preliminary Design Project. And we were fully engaged in those community engagement and outreach practices. And it was wonderful to see those projects move through City Council this year, and along with the TDM ordinance. So we are well set up with the core arterial network and some fantastic policy going into next year to really set us on a great track. We also have record numbers of visitors to our winter and summer bike to work day breakfast stations here. We always host a super station out in front of the chamber, and it was amazing this year. We had close to 300 riders in the winter and over 900 in the summer. So we are looking to expand that even further in 2026. And of course, let's have a big cheer for the fact that the Boulder Junction at Depot Square Station reopened after 5 years. So these are just a few of the many highlights from this year. And I just wanted to quickly invite my colleague Will to say a few more words about Boulder Junction, since he is the mayor of Boulder Junction and does an incredible amount of outreach there. Just like 2 more little highlights about achievements for this year.
Well, mayor is an acronym. Go forward.
Say what it does.
So, well, the mobility administrator for year-round offerings. So these offered resources, as many of you might know, is an unlimited eco pass, which covers all trains in Denver, every bus in Boulder, even the airport station, which we now have going from Boulder Junction, as well as through lower downtown and 19th and out to the Civic Center station in Denver. So we're connecting not just neighborhoods, but cities along the corridor to the access district, which we're really excited about. We sent out a invitation to every resident and each business within the district to this station opening and piloted a new way for requests to be made to the mayor to administer. And we had amazing uptake on that. So we had RSVPs, we had requests for eco passes, and now I'm sort of evolving that in the outreach that I do, where folks in literally 30 seconds can scan a code, get the setup instructions for their app. And once I've verified their residence or employment, they're ready to go right away. So we've changed this process from needing a form and going to get a card to just an app. And now getting the app ready, way better. I think we've had 111 folks sign up in the last month from a holiday push. Because you can go to Boulder Junction to downtown without having to warm up your car or scrape your windshield or deal with parking. So we say, hop on down to the holiday festivities, hop right on back if you need another jacket or you want to have a drink, and enjoy the rest of your evening. So we're really happy to see all that engagement.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. And we look forward to a lot more outreach and engagement and celebration of all things active and shared transportation next year. One of which is Winter Bike to Work Day, of course. So that happens on Friday, February 13th. This is a picture from last year, and it's, again, it's going to be kind of a fun Valentine's Day celebration. And we will be hosting our superstation from the chamber from 7 to 9 a.m. and also probably 1 or 2 in Boulder Junction.
Maybe 5.
Maybe 5
Yeah.
in Boulder Junction. Oh, sorry. Oh, I'm supposed to be on camera.
That's the one.
Okay, we are recording today. And so we are also looking for businesses that are interested in having a booth out at our superstation out front of the chamber. So please talk with us afterwards if that includes you. Okay, so, oh yes, last little quick update. So as you know, there is a goal to have rail service from Denver all the way to Fort Collins through Boulder by January 1st, 2029. This requires all of us to work really hard to convince the unconvinced members of RTP's governing board that they should support us fully. So scan this code to see the full presentation about what joint service is. I will also, of course, send out this presentation to everyone afterwards. But if you want to look at that now, it's freely available. We're also continuing to host conversations about that and just learn more about the joint service process. It's a process of intergovernmental agreements, and everybody's at the table, and it's really happening. So we are super excited about this. Okay, end of updates. Now we're going to move forward to welcome Garrett Slater from the city of Boulder to talk about his experiences in Australia. Advance that way, and I'll tell you that.
Good to be with you today. And I'm going to ask Will The mayor,
Yes, sir.
if you can give me so I'm really energetic and passionate about my Australia trip. So there's a very good chance I'm gonna go long. So you're gonna have to give me the 5-minute warning hook, please. Okay. And, also, a number of the city staff have heard this presentation once, maybe even twice. And so I'm excited to be giving it again to a new audience, and, I'll keep talking about it as long as people want to hear about it. So in earlier 2025, I was notified that I was awarded a fellowship from the American Public Works Association, the Jennings Randolph Award, where you can apply and present a study proposal and talk about what your interest in your research subject is. And my proposal was to go to Australia to understand why their fatality rate is much lower than that of the US. Here in Boulder, we oftentimes like to compare ourselves to the European ideals of Copenhagen and Amsterdam. And they have very different land use patterns than we do that contribute to some of their outcomes, right? So I thought it would be interesting to compare ourselves to a land use model that's more comparable, Australia, and see what they're doing different. And the APWA board said, we agree, you should go. And I got to go for 3.5 weeks. I was basically gone the month of August. So I'm gonna share with you my findings. So to orient you a bit to the geography of Australia, it's a very large continent and country. It is substantially larger north-south than the US, and that the southern end of Tasmania, or Hobart, is approximately where Cancun is, and Darwin on the far north end is up and around approximately where Regina, Saskatchewan would be. East to west, we're comparably sized, and the country is divided into various states and territories. So the population of Australia is about 28 million. Here in the US, we're about 350 million, so they're not even 10% of our population on roughly the same landmass. And 90% of their population lives within 30 miles or 50 kilometers of the coastline. And 50 to 60% of their population lives within the 3 major cities of Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane. And so I spent a week starting in Victoria and Melbourne, and then I spent a week in Brisbane, Queensland, and then I finished up with a week in Sydney and New South Wales. And this is where most of the safe systems approaches are being deployed. Some of the other states are starting to do that as well, Western Australia and Southern Australia. So with that, I highlighted the comparison between Australia and US having similar land use patterns. So looking at the specific numbers, so we have a fatality rate that's nearly 2.5 to 3 times greater than what they have in Australia. And a key factor behind that is that Australia started using a safe systems approach to their road and transportation networks approximately 15 years ago. This slide looks so much better on my computer than it does here in this room. But what this is showing is essentially a fatality rate of first world nations, the OECD, which is the Economic Cooperative Development group of countries. You can see Norway, Sweden, the usual contenders right there at the top with about 2 per 100,000 people. And you can see us second to last at the bottom here in the United States. And then the second cluster of bar graphs there, you can see the states of Australia. So New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia, the Capital Territory, Queensland. So New South Wales, Victoria, we're right around 3.5. As a country, like I said, it was in the 4. And more interesting is looking at the land uses at the bottom. What this is showing is the major cities have a fatality rate of about 2 per 100,000. And because 60 to 70% of their population lives in the major cities, that's where they're making the greatest impact. And so Devin Joslin, who is not here, but is our principal traffic engineer, provided me with our rate here in the city of Boulder. Anyone want to guess what it is? No. It's about 2.5. From 22 to 2024, it's about 2.5 per 100,000 people. So we are doing better than the national average in the US, and we're doing about what the major cities in Australia are doing, but we have a long ways to go. All right. I would love to show you more of I got to be a tourist. I spent about 60 to 70% of my time doing subject matter study tour, and the rest of the time I got to just have fun and play and be a tourist. And this is a photo that I took in one of the national parks in Victoria at the beginning of a hike. So there, they take very seriously the protection of their ecological habitat, and to make sure that pathogens are not introduced into their habitats, they ask people to scrub their boots and put their shoe into that little insert and give it 2 pumps of anti-pathogen liquid before you start off on the hiking trail. So sort of reinforcing the adage that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, an appropriate metaphor for safe systems approaches to transportation, which is the idea that nobody should experience serious trauma or injury or fatality when they choose to use the public transportation network. And that comprises an approach for safe roads, safe speeds, safe vehicles, and safe people. So with that, I'm going to give you the top 10. And I met with a host of folks in Australia, both local agency folks. I met with advocacy groups. I met with state transportation agencies. I met with their national people. I was fortunate to have met with, I think I had 27 different appointments. The really cool thing is while I was sharing my experiences on LinkedIn, I started getting messages from the Australian people saying, hey, I want to meet with you too. And that was a really fun experience to have. So I'm going to share the top 10 because everyone I met with, I said, tell me your top 3 reasons why Australia is safer than the US. I compiled my own. This is not something they gave to me. This is Garrett's later version of the top 10 reasons Australia is doing better. The first one is the International Road Assessment Program. So this is a system that they use to rank the safety of each of their roads. And each of the states in Australia have rated on a 100 kilometer, 1 kilometer basis, the safety of each of their roadways so that they know how safe they are on that 1 to 5 scale. So we're, everyone's used to, you can rate your doctor, your tacos, the quality of your shoes on the 1 to 5 scale, right? So they're doing the same thing with their roads. Not based on how they performed retroactively, but the set of conditions that are there today. So that's the safe systems approach of we're not going to wait and see where the problems develop. We're going to look at the conditions now and see what might occur and what sets of conditions we can do to make it better. So these are all the factors that go into that ranking. And this next couple slides I thought was very telling. The state of Victoria started the IRAP, they converted it to their own version, the OSRAP star rating. And this is the rating they had in 2014 when they first started. And so you can see that their average star rating was 2.9. This also coincided with a time in which the state of Victoria put together a vehicle registration fee, not dissimilar from our faster vehicle registration fee here in Colorado. The main difference is that our faster fees in Colorado are spread across a whole bunch of different transportation programs. Their vehicle registration fee goes into 2 major areas. Number one is infrastructure investment, and the other is that when you pay that registration fee, you automatically are covered by any auto crash or crash of any type you're involved in. As long as you paid into that system, it covers all your hospital, all your therapy, all your medical bills are completely covered by being a part of that system. And so the agency is compelled to reduce the number of claims and payouts they have by making investments in infrastructure, sort of a self-fulfilling outcome, right? And so what did it look like on their system just 8 years later after all that investment? They went from a 2.9 to a 4.5 rating because they went and said, we're going to make proactive investment in making our roads safer. And in urban areas, these are the types of treatments that were deployed to get to those outcomes. These are a lot of the sorts of things that are comprising the infrastructure investment we're making in the city of Boulder now. A lot of this type of work should look familiar to you. I don't have time to go through these item by item, so I'm going to move on. Okay, number 2, speed limit practices. So for many years now, the country of Australia and the states of Australia have used the speed camera enforcement, and you will see and experience that all over the place as you drive around the major urban areas. They use dynamic speed limits as well. So you can see the image on the left shows that the speed limit will change based on the conditions, and you will be ticketed, and you can't use the excuse of, well, normally it's 100 and now it's 80. They do not care. So there are mobile speed cameras that move around, just like our photo radar van. They have fixed speed cameras. They have cameras that detect if you're on your phone. They have cameras that detect if you're wearing a seatbelt, and you will be cited. The culture of speeding in Australia is very different than the US. It's a suggestion here. For them, it is considered rude and disrespectful to speed. It's like cutting the line when you're waiting to board a plane, or you're in line at the grocery store. Someone cuts in front of you. That's how they view speeding in Australia. And this speed limit enforcement and practice is a big part of it. Why does speeding matter to their safe systems approach? Because speeds contributes to fatalities and serious injury rates. So you are 10 times more likely to be involved in a fatality if you are a pedestrian at 60 miles per hour versus 20 miles per hour. So controlling and managing speeds is a major focus of their safe systems approach. So to that effect, they are busy deploying all types of speed mitigation around the country. So these are images that I took while I was traveling. The image on the left is in a seaside town along the Great Ocean Road in Victoria. They just finished this project and they use more of the horizontal effect and the treatment there. The crossing we see on the right is colloquially known as a wombat crossing because in the side profile, it has the hump of a wombat. And so this is both a bicycle and pedestrian wombat crossing at a driveway picture I took in Brisbane. These are both tourist towns. The image on the left is Apollo Bay, and then the image on the right is Halls Gap by Grampians National Park. Both, like I said, major tourist attractions. I'm going to pick on CDOT here because these are both state highways in Australia, and they were just fine by putting a vertical raised crossing right on the main state highway. Imagine if we had something like that here on Canyon, right? We're at the 11th Street crossing. How great it would be if CDOT allowed us to do these types of treatments as they are doing in Australia. Other examples, this is a roundabout in Sydney, just outside of Sydney, where they use vertical treatments at the entry to a roundabout. And this is a safe routes to school crossing treatment, Wombat Crossing. That's the school right there in the background. I took that picture also in Brisbane. So I think this is perhaps the most interesting of all my slides. It shows what has happened over the 50 years that they've made an investment and prioritized road safety overall. So where have the biggest drops happened? The first, when they implemented seatbelt laws, then when they implemented the mobile speed camera. I don't know if is there a laser pointer on this thing? In 1990 is when they started the mobile speed camera program. And so that's right here. Look at the drop. So it's great that we are doing and deploying more of that here in the Boulder area. And then, let's see, the next major one was in 2000 when they started the Safe Streets campaigns, and then starting in 2016 is where they started doing the major safe infrastructure road investments, 2014, 2016 time period, which showed that IRAP change. So they still, you can see that little uptick right there at the end. Like a lot of places, the distracted driving is contributing to an uptick in road fatalities and serious injuries. So that's why they are deploying more of the mobile camera to try to get a hold of that distracted driving situation. Okay, so number 4, roadside barriers. So this is a major part of their rural safe system approach. So here is an image of a deck and in an urban area. And so would we consider this a safe condition? How about now? We put a white stripe on the side of the deck. Is it safe now?
How high are we?
Yeah, this is 7 stories high. 7 stories. Okay,
No.
so, no, it's safe now, right? Because we put a railing there, obviously. Now let's look at a road. Is this safe? We put a white stripe, it's safe now, right? Australia says it's not safe until we put barrier there to keep people from going off the road or running into other vehicles. I had a little video I don't have time to show you. But it actually it shows the effectiveness, and in my travels in the outer more rural regions, you will see that they are deploying these guardrail and cable rail treatments everywhere on their main highways to continue with that safe system investment. All right, number 5, public transport. So what does that have to do with road safety? So we know that buses and trains, if you travel on a bus or a train, you're far less likely to be involved in a crash or experience a fatality. And this was sort of the nirvana moment of my trip experiencing transit, in that there are 2 trains crossing, opposing one another on the bridge. There's a tram and a bus underneath, right there with the protected bike lane and the pedestrian crossing. So this is in downtown Melbourne, where they have had continuous electric tram service since 1890. So that's a major component. Is in fact, in Melbourne, I asked about bike ridership in the CBD, and they said as the bike, very few people in the CBD ride by bike because the public transport is so good. It's inconvenient to, if you're traveling inside a 3-kilometer radius of downtown, it's more convenient to just hop on a tram or a bus because the service is like every 2 minutes. And so it's not till you get like 5 kilometers outside that people are sort of traveling more by bicycle. And this is an interesting graphic. The University of Toronto has a comparison database that you can look at how cities compare. And so when you look at the percent of the urban area with a major rail transit station, you can see how Sydney, Melbourne, are ahead of New York, which is of course our most transit-rich city. Okay, active transport, number 6. So this is, on the image on the right, is showing 2-way bike lane intersection where they prohibited right turns, which for us would be left turns. I thought it was really cool to see that much space of a busy intersection devoted to protected bicycle spaces. Also, they give lots of thought to the little details. The image on the left shows the tapering guardrail, which so that it doesn't grab handlebars before it transitions to a vertical condition. The curb here on the left shows that on the bicycle side, tapered so that your pedal doesn't hit it, more vertical on the vehicle side. And jealous of all the MMA material that they're able to apply because they don't have to deal with snow plows there. So they can be much more liberal with their application of colorful materials. The image on the right shows that all the driveways, they were putting vertical attachments down to the street to slow vehicles as they go in and out of driveways across the bike lane. And then to make sure that people are not putting their trash bins in the bike lane, they actually paint places for people to put their trash bins as well. Okay, the movement of place policy. This is a policy that each of the major states have adopted. Not all the countries adopted, but Victoria, Queensland, and New South Wales, which says every major project that we do, we're going to identify what our goals are, and we're going to demonstrate how that project is going to lead to these outcomes. And so we're going to say, is it going to be, are we trying to do Highway 36 here, or are we trying to do more of a people-friendly kind of a place? And so they identify on a P5 and an M5 scale where you're going to be and what your specific efforts are going to be that lead to those outcomes. And so this is a new thing, and every city that I was meeting with talked about movement and place policy as being a critical part of their overall safe systems approach. Number 8, corridor recommendation. So I just had a thought. I'm gonna go real quickly right back to the speed limit thing, because now I'm gonna pick on the city of Boulder. Even as a city employee, I'm gonna pick on the city of Boulder. Every dollar of revenue that comes in from those citations goes back into safe systems infrastructure. It does not go to anything else. And I remember asking the lead safe systems engineer at the New South Wales State Transport Department, well, surely somebody else wants that money. And what happens like if the revenue goes down? And he says, well, then we're meeting our goals, aren't we? So it'd be great if all that revenue that is being generated by the cameras, we could put that into safe systems infrastructure as well. So hopefully I don't get in trouble by somebody by saying that out loud. The coroner recommendation in Australia, the coroner has the responsibility for outlining the causes that went into a fatality, and it gets published. And if that happens to occur another time and nobody took action after that original coroner recommendation, then that person or agency or entity can be found liable for not taking action. So a number of the people I spoke with talked about the importance. They spoke with great fear about not being subject to a coroner recommendation finding. Signals, so they don't have left turn on red. For us, that would be right turn on red. And they don't have filtering for us, which would be the flashing yellow arrow or a green ball, where for us, that would mean that you only get to do the left turn, for them a right turn on a green arrow. Why is that important? Because we know that right on reds, that's where you lead to lots of side swipe crashes. And then also at signals where you lead to people making left turns that probably not good ideas. The green arrow provides that greater level of protection. And then finally, the education is blunt. I took this picture on one of the hikes next to a cliff I was about to come upon. And so you might remember, they don't do this anymore. I wish that they still did, but my driver education consisted of a PE teacher showing crash videos that just kind of scare you into being a safe driver. They still do that in Australia. Is it not going to show?
What?
Okay, I guess I'm in time anyway. So there's a really great video that they have that talks about the importance of when you are about to come upon an object that's fixed. If someone's crossing, cars crossing in front of you, you have to hit your brakes. The difference that 5 kilometers per hour can make as you are coming upon it. And so it's about a 30-second clip.
I'll try to fit that into the, I'll send it with.
Okay. Fantastic.
Yeah.
And so that is the end of my presentation. It was very illuminating, and like I said, I'm happy to talk to anybody about all the great lessons I learned, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Hold your questions, please, until the end, because we do have a lot to cover for the rest of our time, and I want to make sure that we've got plenty of time for everything. But if you have questions for Garrett, stick around, ask them at the end. So now I'm going to invite our panelists up. We've got Amy Thompson. I think that Ash Lavelle has not been able to make it here. I reached out to her and have not heard from her, so we might just have 2 panelists, which would be fun. So we've got Amy, we've got Erica, and come on up. And I think I will pull up a chair to myself here. Swear. Do we have another chair? Okay. I'll pull up a chair. Sorry. You go. Go ahead with the chair there, please. Thank you very much. All right. Great. Yay. Okay, we have a microphone here. And what I think we'll do, so we'll have a little discussion. I'm gonna let Amy and Erica introduce themselves first and talk a little bit about what they do and their kind of recent insights. And then we'll move into some questions, and we will have plenty of time for interaction with you all, between you all and the panelists. So before I hand it over to Amy, hold on, one quick thing. I did want to just introduce this briefly by saying that, this is a really hot topic in our community these days. And I was on a group that started to kind of develop this messaging with Boulder County 2 years ago. And so the messaging has sort of evolved and we need it to evolve further. And so that's the kind of impetus for this discussion today, because e-bikes have just grown in popularity and other machines that are not e-bikes have also grown in popularity. So we'll be talking about all of those things. Okay, Amy, why don't you kick us off?
Get my slide.
Yes.
Oh, great.
Great.
All right, so my name is Amy Thompson, and I'm the Safe Routes to School Coordinator for the Boulder Valley School District. And what that means is that I put together programs and work on safety and infrastructure projects with cities to make biking and walking to school more viable and safer, and to try to encourage less single family cars arriving at schools. So as you probably noticed around town, we've had an absolute surge of e-bikes around town and showing up at our school. So just to start things off on a positive note, some of the advantages we're seeing of e-bikes is it extends the bikeable zone. You know, we have open enrollment throughout the state of Colorado. So if you want to open enroll to a school across town, an e-bike makes it a little bit more viable, and it's easy to carry your stuff. It's great for student independence and parent freedom. Those of us who have been parents of middle school and high school kids, boy, you can spend a lot of time driving, and who wants that? So it's great for the kids. It helps meet sustainability goals. We do have sustainability goals as a school district. Just helps the environment. Fewer cars in our hug-and-go lane makes it safer on schools. The kids are getting exercise before school, and fresh air is so good for their mental health and also for focus in learning at school. And just, yeah, fresh air is super fun to ride an e-bike to school. So some of the challenges we're seeing, just like you've probably seen around town, some unsafe riding practices, social media stunts, for example, the power wheelie on a class 2 bike. I know I saw high school kid doing a power wheelie down South Boulder Road. That scared me. Passengers with no helmets is a common one. Maybe they brought their bike to school and they want to go out to lunch and they throw a couple friends on the back and they don't have helmets for them. Speed, going too fast, of course, crashes and injuries, maintenance issues. I was teaching like bicycle education at Louisville Middle School just a few weeks ago. And I was looking at one of the e-bikes and the rear brake was just completely hanging off. Like it was like really scary. So yeah, keeping them in good working order. Complaints from the community, overriding the speed limiter. If there's like one issue for us, the class 2 bikes are the most popular, and it is so easy to figure out how to override the speed limiter. So that's been a big challenge. And of course, riding the out of class e-motos. We do see a handful of those at schools with the non-working pedals that look like dirt bikes. So this is a flyer that the city of Louisville put out, and I kind of really liked it because it's just simple, and I like that they used pictures. But just a real quick overview of the different classes of e-bikes and what's not an e-bike. So first, class 1 is pedal assist only, and it assists only up to 20 miles per hour. Above that, it's all you. Class 2 is pedal assist to 20, but it's got the throttle, and that's really the most popular bike that I see at the schools. We do bike counts once a month, and I really don't see very many class 1 or class 3 bikes. It's mostly class 2. And they had class 3 is pedal assist only, no throttle, but it can assist up to 28 miles per hour. You have to be 16 or over to ride them. And just to note, all e-bikes have to have working pedals. You can't just slap them on that don't work, and have less than 750 watts of power. So e-motos, those are the things, they're not e-bikes. So think of electric power scooters. They're like 750 watts to about 4,000 watts. And then electric motorcycles, 4476 watts. Okay. So e-bike readiness. So if you are a parent thinking about getting your kid an e-bike, some things to really think about is my kid truly ready to ride an e-bike? And they honestly need to be a competent, just traditional bike rider first. Again, back to teaching at Louisville Middle, we had a girl talk to us that she had an e-bike, crashed it, got hurt, and she realized she had no business on the e-bike, and so she got rid of it. And then when we saw her in class, we're like, yeah, she was a pretty novice, just traditional bike rider. So having those good bike handling skills on a traditional bike is really strong prerequisite for riding an e-bike. E-bikes are heavier and more difficult to maneuver and stop. They can go 2 times plus faster than traditional bikes. A typical like little middle school kid would probably average about 10 miles per hour on a traditional bike. And then the kids must understand the rules of the road. And that's where I think parents come in. I think that starts when they're preschoolers and elementary, like the walking to school and biking and going through all the different scenarios. And they must be willing to follow the rules. A lot of kids know the rules of the road, but choose to behave differently. And then to throttle or not to throttle, that is the question. And that's really kind of the gist of the issue that we're seeing. So I do always recommend if you're new to the e-bike world, the class 1 is probably a better choice, but a throttle can really get out of control. And then also the class 2, like I said, they're often altering them to go faster than that 20 miles per hour speed limit. The class 1s are easier to manage, and you don't do those power wheelies on the class 1s. Next. So other things that families could do, so buy a legal e-bike, not an e-moto. And I think buying legal and local can help, because when you can talk to an actual like salesperson who can guide you through what the best choice is, that's really great. I know a lot of people are attracted by the low prices on the direct-to-consumer internet, but working with a bike shop is a great idea. Test ride your kid's e-bike often to make sure they haven't altered it, or make sure they don't have that brake hanging off the back, or just that it's in good working order. Talk about social media influencers and what their motivations are. They're not there to keep you safe. They just want to improve clicks, likes, whatever. So they're doing things like eluding police officers or the power wheelie. So talking about that with your kids and what the motivation there is. Importance of practicing road safety with your kids, ride often with them in lots of different scenarios so they know what to do. Talk about taking low stress routes. Like, you don't need to be riding on South Boulder Road. Go to a quieter, slower street. Like we've talked about, speed is so important, and safety. And then Marin County, I'm on a national e-bike committee, and they put out a safety contract for parents and kids. Not that I think like signing a contract is going to do much with a middle schooler, but it's got some great talking points in it. And that's it. We've got some more information on our website. We've put out a few articles about e-bikes, and we've got another one coming out next week.
Yay, fantastic, thank you.
That's a lot of really good information, sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, go for it, Erin.
Thank you so much. Yeah, Amy's been an amazing partner as we have talked through e-bikes and e-motos in the city. For the city of Boulder's part, we have been mounting an educational safety and informational campaign for people who use e-bikes, e-motos, e-scooters, and all these other devices that are out there, and particularly those that are battery powered and going faster than your sort of typical ones. But these messages also apply to everybody who's just out there on wheels and using streets and paths and sidewalks, etc. The Transportation and Mobility Department has partnered with the police department, as well as our open space and mountain parks and our parks and rec departments, to really understand just like what the issue is around the city on our various facilities. And we're working internally to make our messaging consistent, as well as our enforcement. So you actually on your tables have some of the informational resources available to you there. So those are the physical copies. Mitch and I are actually gonna go walk those around to e-bike shops around the city this afternoon, so that people are getting on the same page about what is an e-bike, what is an e-moto. We've also recorded a video in both English and Spanish about the differences between those two vehicles, so that people can have a bit of a buying guide as we go into the holidays. And we'll be working on more educational materials in the new year. And I see a hand way back there. Are we there yet?
Wait, no, not yet. Not yet. Sorry. We're gonna have a bit of a facilitated conversation first. Hold your questions. I'm gonna grab this chair. Okay, so hold your questions, but because I think that this conversation might lead to more questions as well. So thank you both for being here and bringing your kind of knowledge and expertise and everything that you're working on. And super excited to see both of your efforts that the city is really investing kind of more time and energy, and thank you for putting out videos, and Amy, everything that you've been doing has just been fantastic. So there have been a lot of articles and kind of media lately about injuries and deaths on e-bikes, and also the difference between e-bikes and e-motos. And also there was a letter to the Daily Camera just last week in which a community member wrote that e-bikes should be regulated the same as gas-powered motorcycles. The writer said that they were presumably thinking of e-motos by their description. But what do you think of the prospect of all e-bikes being regulated or requiring registration and licensure on the part of users? Whoever wants to answer.
Yeah, I have the mic, so why not? So I don't want to talk about what I think. I'll talk about what the city of Boulder's stance is on regulating e-bikes. So we follow the Colorado legislation, which regulates e-bikes as a consumer product. So it allows e-bikes, and e-scooters anywhere that regular bikes can go. And so we can't regulate those past what the state actually does, right? So we would be out of compliance if we did something like that.
I would be supportive for e-motos, but not so much for e-bike.
Yeah, interesting, yeah. Yeah, this person wrote, if a teenager has to be 16 to drive a car legally, the same should be true to operate an e-bike. If gas-powered motorcycles must be regulated in the state of Colorado, the same should be true of electric-powered e-bikes. If road cyclists have to follow the rules of the road, e-bike operators should be required to do the same. So I'm just putting it out there that these thoughts are definitely out there, and I think we've all heard a lot of that. So, House Bill 251197 was passed this year, and I'm wondering if you feel like it goes far enough to regulate how e-bikes are labeled and sold in the state of Colorado, and what's missing from that legislation. What do you think should come next as we continue to look at laws around these devices?
Well, I'm wondering where the enforcement of that law is, and is it really making a difference? And if I look just at what we're seeing showing up to schools, I'd say, maybe not. We're still seeing a lot of e-motos that look like dirt bikes, and then we're also seeing the class 2, which when the parents bought it were illegal, but then the kids altered them, and then suddenly they're out of class. So it doesn't really cover that. And then I was on a webinar recently where you can just go on Amazon and buy some class 2 stickers just to pop on your bike. Yeah, I'm not sure how impactful it's been yet.
Yeah. And for those of you who aren't familiar, it's a law that regulates the labeling and the kind of point of sale information that's provided to buyers of e-bikes.
Yeah, and I'll just add that as we were combing through all the information that's available on the vast internet, it's really difficult to tell what these devices are actually capable of. So if you were to right now Google any device that you see out on the streets, you might see that top speed buried deep within the web page if you can find it at all. Sometimes it's just in the owner's manual if you find it anywhere. So yeah, to the extent that it's actually helping the parent or the buyer at that point of sale, it's not super clear, but just based on our experience, it's still really difficult to find top speed, wattage, that sort of thing to keep your vehicle in compliance.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And just the way that it's so easy to modify so many class 2 bikes and the popularity of the e-moto. I mean, that's a big barrier to, our kind of supervision of all these things. So there was also a recent article last week in the New York Times about how, e-bikes have really been great, right? They're really advantageous in so many ways. And the writer David Darlington wrote, Bloomberg New Energy Finance calculates that e-bikes are already cutting worldwide demand for oil by 1 million barrels per day, or 4 times as much as all the world's electric cars. And because e-bikes cost only a fraction as much as automobiles, while also significantly reducing the costs associated with parking, fuel, and maintenance, they're now seen by many as a key element of the micromobility movement, defined by low-speed, human and electric-powered transportation. I myself have an e-bike. I know a lot of people in this room have an e-bike. And, they're clearly popular in Boulder and other parts of the Front Range. And so how can we support the uptake of e-bikes further among students and other community members while addressing the safety concerns that people have about how people are using them?
Yeah, I think there's two major ways that we're looking at it right now, and that's just we've sort of been working towards for a long time, which is sort of what Garrett talks about a lot, right? Is the infrastructure piece, right? So just making sure that e-bikers have safe places where they can ride that are separate from people who are maybe going at slower speeds or on different modes. And then the education piece, I think, is another really important piece, right? So that people know what they have and the power that vehicle actually has. We actually had a really great conversation with our partners over at Boulder Community Health about the types of injuries that we're seeing now with e-bikes. And it's just really important that people understand what the device is capable of and how to handle that device and then where to use it. So I think that education and infrastructure piece is super important. And then I think on the other end, right, if enough people have the information that they need to buy the right device, to use it correctly, and they're still not doing it, just having a really coalesced enforcement campaign, I think, is also the other piece.
I'll just add on to that from the environmental standpoint, and I am scrambling to get more bike racks installed at schools. So we've seen such a big uptick, and we're also trying to be strategic about placing, like making an e-bike parking lot, maybe more on the outskirts of campus, and then the regular bike somewhere else, just to try to not mix the modes so much. But I ride an e-bike to work quite a bit. I love it. And I've seen it. It's not only popular with all families, but I'm also seeing a lot of e-bikes coming out of some of our manufactured home communities. And so it's really been a viable way to get kids to school with their activities when parents have to work. So in that sense, it's been very positive.
Yeah, absolutely. I have so many more questions, but I know you do too, and I want to leave plenty of time. So who would like the microphone? Steve?
Yeah, my question is for Ethan. I have a couple questions. So, are you saying that in Boulder Valley that only class 2 or below are allowed on school property, or is that the law from the state?
Those are the state classifications.
Okay, so the state says that somebody under 16 can't have a class 2
Can't ride one.
or can't ride
Yeah.
a class 3.
Yes.
Okay, and then, so I have a middle schooler in Boulder Valley, we get like 5 emails a day from them, but I haven't seen one about these. So is somebody like checking the bikes? Like, how is that being handled with the schools?
Yeah, so what I find is really interesting is it very much varies from school to school. So if you're in North Boulder, Centennial Middle School is our top biking school in the entire district of all like 54 schools. But then over at Manhattan, I don't see nearly as many bikes or e-bikes, so it's very pocketed. So what we're doing at this point is principals are handling it on a campus by campus basis. And they're kind of also on an individual basis. So if they've got some kids who are really behaving unsafely on campus, they talk to them individually and talk to the families. But it's not kind of a big blanket policy, and trying to lean in on education. And if you read the Spot parent newsletter, I put out a few articles on e-bikes. I've got one coming out next week. So we're trying to do some education too, and just trying to help families, because kind of like Erica was saying, it is super confusing. Even if you're thinking of buying one, you go through the website and you have to find like what's the true power, what wattage, what's the top speed. It can be very confusing.
Yeah, for sure. I also have a middle schooler at BSD, and I did see the newsletter. Okay, who wants it next? Oh, come on.
Really? I thought the new state law on e-bikes requires insurance and registration for those that are not outside of class 3.
For e-motos,
Is
not e-bikes.
that true? Insurance and registration?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that's so difficult, because I think what parents have discovered is they bought this bike that is, totally illegal, and you can't ride it anywhere other than like a private property, like maybe if your grandma has a farm or something, you could ride it there, but they're not, street legal, I guess. So to become street legal, they would need license, insurance, brake lights, turn lights, all that kind of thing. Driver's license, yeah.
I'll ask a super quick question, which is, I know, like, for motorcycle riders, you do not require helmets in this state. We require eye protection. Are any kids paying attention to that? And what do we do about the kids that are putting their helmet on their handlebars instead of their head?
That's a super, super hard question, because that was happening before e-bikes came along, and then now that it's easy to pile their friends, on to the bike, and yeah, if they're at school, they probably bring an extra helmet. So, pro tip, if your kid does have an e-bike, have them put an extra helmet, like if you have a pannier on it or something. Yeah, that's a rough one. We try to do bike ed and talk about, this is who you are as a person, and to protect it, but that's hard with young people.
Elaine's got the microphone, but I'm gonna say one more question, so we have plenty of time for Hunter. Who would
Anyone
like to
else?
have the final question? Well, yes, Nick.
I know that Dr. Ashland from People for Bike was not able to join us today, but I know that she sent around to our group a recommendation of some of the federal and state regulations that are missing, that would help local jurisdictions and municipalities address some of these issues that we're seeing with e-bikes. If you all are familiar with any of those, would you mention some of them? Or Darcy, would that be something you could include in the email that you send out to people and follow up?
Sure, I'll look for that. I haven't seen it. Have you?
I'll share it with
Would you
Yeah.
please? Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
And once again, I'm not, I guess I'm speaking on behalf of Dr. Ashland in a second, but the People for Bikes has spoken to some potential suggested regulations, once again, on the national and the state level, that could address some of these issues that we're seeing, particularly with class electric vehicles and e-motos.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah, I'll share it with you.
She will take the microphone. Okay.
And maybe I'll just chime in as a daily cyclist myself. I could not recommend more going to a local bike shop, because there is so much variation direct to consumer. There's a maintenance concern. I can repeat that. Please shop local. In terms of the update for the direct to consumers, two major companies are Ride One Up and Rad Power. And almost all of their new models allow you to choose, adjust, change the class in a matter of seconds. On my bike, you hold two buttons and it'll cycle between class 1, where the throttle does not work and it won't go past 20, class 2, where it does, but lower, in class 3, that I often ride, where all those are there. So something I think for parents to consider is they can do this and have that contract. So great to have that contract. Thou shalt not change this thing, but also empowering the kids. My guy's 4 and he's already ridden like 200 miles on a little wool bike. So I think that being parents who are in your kids' lives with these bikes is crucial. Thank you both so much for being here.
Yes, thank you. Thank you both so much, and please do take the flyers, the brand new hot off the press flyers from the city with you when you go. Now I will welcome Hunter Wright to close us out with special news from Eldora Mountain Resort and the sustainability efforts that she heads up. Welcome.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Hunter.
Here's your.
Thanks for all the e-bike information. I have 3 kiddos that graduated from Boulder High. Centennial is our home middle school, and all of them rode their bikes through high school and now college too. So, yes, Eldora. So how many of you guys have been up to Eldora? A lot of you. And how many of you live in the town of Netherland? Anyone? How many of you have heard that the town of Netherland has signed a letter of intent to buy Eldora? Yes. Okay, great. So I wish I had a great update. The news is that there is no news. The deal actually hasn't been closed yet. Originally, the goal was to be October, and then it was November, And now we're in December. And so we're hopeful that, in the new year it will happen, but we really don't, have an updated timeline. So yes, so the news is, or what we're being told is business as usual. And so I just wanted to share with you guys what business as usual looks like to us. I've been at Eldora for 10 years, in doing sustainability and, project development. And prior to that, I was at Historic Boulder, as their development director. So I've been in the nonprofit arena as well. And then prior to that, I worked at the Rock Bottom Restaurants in Old Chicago back in the day, corporate office, and ran their community foundation. So I've been in Boulder for 30 years, and I love Boulder. I use RTD. So yeah, let's talk about Eldora. So Play Forever is our corporate responsibility commitment to protect the environment and support our community. And so there are two main pillars under, okay, so we have our environmental pillar and our community pillar. And so how we protect the environment, we do that through projects, engagement, advocacy. Our three main focuses are energy, reducing how much energy we use, waste, reducing waste, reusing as much as possible, and land, proper land stewardship. And then under community, we provide financial contributions, in-kind giving, and volunteerism to strengthen our local community. And that's the wider Boulder community as well as our mountain communities. So our three main focuses are local relief, participation, and environment. So local relief, for example, we had a fire in October that wiped out about 20 businesses and 80 employees from their jobs. And so we, through the Play Forever Fund, raised $60,000 to help those businesses and those employees be able to pay their bills and utilities. And so local relief is really important. Participation. Enabling participation, increasing diversity on the mountain. It's a really expensive sport. We really want to remove those financial barriers and create opportunities for kids to be able to come up and ski. It's surprising how many kiddos grow up in Colorado and don't have the opportunity to ski, or even be in the mountains. We had a group up on Wednesday, the Outdoor Girls group from Women's Wilderness, and they it was middle school girls. They were 10 to 13 years old, and it was so windy. I mean, you guys, have you heard about the wind? It's been crazy. I mean, we closed today. I mean, we didn't even open Alpenglow or Indian Peaks today because there were 70-mile-an-hour winds, but we called it for the day at noon. So don't come up today. But it was just really cool to see these girls. They were so excited. One girl was showing me her boots, and I was like, yeah, those are really cool boots. And she's like, will they work? And I was like, we're giving you ski boots. And she was like, really? Like, she didn't know that. It was just, yeah. But so we really do. We host about 15 different groups a season. And then back in 2022, we donated our season rental fleet to create a lending library in the Front Range. And so these girls didn't have ski pants and shells and goggles and mittens. And so they were able to, we work with Ski Noir 5280, and they outfitted the girls before they came up. So increasing diversity and removing financial barriers is huge for us. And then also advocating for the environment. We choose our local partners based on their education and advocacy for the environment. That's Boulder Watershed Collective, Leave No Trace, Wild Bear Nature Center. So we have a great group of community partners. So what does it look like for the future with our business as usual? So in order for Eldora to be a sustainable business, we need to create long-term value. And how do we do that? Well, the goal is to balance environmental responsibility and stewardship with social responsibility, while also making a profit, right? We can't do these things without making money. In order to be a viable business, you have to have income. And so the goal is to balance those three main considerations in every decision that we make. So I just wanted to share a couple of our wins, and then we'll talk about our sustainable transportation program as well. So for the environment, this past season, currently our waste diversion rate is 51.3. Is there anyone, I think Boulder County says 38. That's what the Google machine told me. So that's chat GBT, well, anyway. So we're really excited about that. Our goal is 75% by 2030. 100% would be amazing to be completely zero waste, but it's challenging it's just challenging, as everybody knows. Another environmental win this past season was our Caribou Lodge. It was an energy efficient building. We worked with Excel Energy. All of our equipment, we had rebates. It's all renewable. All of our Energy Star, sorry, my mind went blank. So we have Energy Star equipment. We have, our insulation is R60. We've got double pane windows. And so that was a really big win for us. It's a 12,000 square foot building on our lower mountain, and it provides a home base for our adaptive community, Ignite Adaptive Sports, and then upstairs is our ski and ride school. And so we received a grant from Boulder County Partners for a Clean Environment. So shout out to those guys if you guys are here. And then also we got another grant from Excel for all of our equipment for that building. I think we got $12,500 for that. And then also we received a $54,000 grant to add 6 more dual port EV chargers to our lower level. So we currently have 15 dual port chargers, which is part of our sustainable transportation. We provide really great parking if you have an EV, so come on up. A lot of times for single occupancy, and I'll talk a little bit more about that, but we make our single occupancy vehicles park in the back because we're really trying to incentivize carpooling. So under the community, so the Play Forever Fund, I talked a little bit about that. We worked with Leave No Trace to reduce your boot print. You can scan a code, take a pledge, learn the Leave No Trace and how to operate in our mountain ecosystem with as little impact as possible. And you sign the pledge, and then you get a little wooden sticker and can interact with one of our mountain sustainability crew. Our group ski days, I talked about that. And then Play Forever Wednesdays. So every Wednesday, we offer $99 lift tickets. And from those lift ticket sales, $20 go to our community partners. So if you've got friends in town, we really encourage you to come up during the week. It's a lot less crowded, and you can get a great deal and also give back to the community. So we have Green Team. We do department grants where each department can apply for up to $10,000 in grants where, say, they're in lift maintenance and somebody in the lift maintenance team is like, hey, I heard Copper is using renewable lift oil grease and we didn't budget for it. Is that something we could try here? Well, then they write a grant, they present it to our Green Team, and then we vote on it. And so, yes, it got approved. And then for next year, they're going to write it into their budget. And then it's going to be ongoing, which is great. And then we have on-the-spot awards for our employees, encouraging safety, service, and sustainability. If they see somebody that has a great safety moment or service moment or sustainability moment, they get a little card, and then they can go into HR and get a fabulous prize and also be entered to win skis. And then we do waste diversion educational pop-ups and guest trainings. And then employee volunteer programs. So we encourage our employees to volunteer in the community, and we'll reimburse them up to 16 hours this season for volunteering at a nonprofit that is near and dear to their heart. So if they want to work at the Humane Society for a few hours, then they can get their hourly rate reimbursed. Okay, so sustainable transportation. Oh, sorry guys. I'm a little trigger happy.
Here we go. She's. I can't see the cursor very well, but let's all right.
Sorry, talk about.
I can talk about it. Okay, so we have about 700 employees during our season. We're open November through April, and it's about 158 days this season. And reducing our scope 3 emissions is a priority at Eldora. And so in order to do that, we offer incentives for employees to ride the RTD bus. We work with the town of Netherland to provide eco passes for all of our employees. And then they also get reimbursed for their commute time. And on Saturdays and Sundays, we have shuttle up from the Justice Center for employees to come up. So that's one of our main initiatives. And then also I mentioned our SOV. We have SOV charge of $10 on peak weekends and holidays. And the money that we make from the SOV fees goes to pay for complimentary bus passes at the RTD transfer station on Saturdays and Sundays for the public. So we really encourage the public to use the RTD. And we work with RTDs a lot. Should I not? Okay, we work with RTD, we talk to them all the time, so yeah, you'll have to stop. In the past, RTD would just come up every other hour. And then we would supplement on the weekends and have shuttles running from Boulder to pick up guests and employees. And because we were able to increase ridership through RTD, they have added, so now they added 2 more runs. And so we have service every hour. So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So it's a really great, I take RTD, you can just listen to your podcast and enjoy the ride. And then we did a pilot project in the spring of 2025, the Ned Rec shuttle. That was in partnership with Boulder County and the town of Netherland. The shuttle was free for passengers and it looped the Ned Community Center up to Eldora with some stops in town, because I think the real challenge for the Ned residents is the RTD gets up there and then it's already full. There's nowhere for them to sit. They can't get up. And so creating that local loop is going to be a game changer. And we're scheduled to start that this weekend. Okay, so yes, wrap up. So the next slide is basically about the sale. If you guys want to get up to speed on what's going on, you can reach out to Jonathan Kane. He's the Netherland town manager, and he is working with Powder, our current owner, to finalize the purchase agreement and hopefully close the deal in the upcoming year. And these are some frequently asked questions. So if you want to know about funding and what it's going to look like, please go to this website, reach out to Jonathan Kane. So thank you so much. I appreciate all you do.
Thank you so much, Hunter. Thank you so much, Hunter. And we are grateful to Eldora Mountain Resort for being a valued Boulder Chamber member and also for giving a gift today. So if you want to look under your chair, you might have a special gift under your chair. Right? Who found it? All right. So these are lift ticket vouchers for weekday lift tickets. Great. And Hunter also brought these wonderful shots and some chapstick from Eldora as well. So that's really that's it. I wanted to show you something kind of fun. I plugged can you go back to the wait, all right. So what happens when you ask Canva's AI machine to create a happy holidays video from the city of Boulder featuring bikes and buses? This is what happens. So press play. Down there in the road. So all right, this is what happens. So happy holidays. If I can get there, it's under there somewhere. Okay, here we go. Look at all those bikes. All of those bikes. No helmets. There are no helmets. And there's a lot of snow and there's a lot of bikes in one bus. But you know, it's just kind of fun to play with, right? But anyway, thank you and happy holidays from us. We are looking forward to seeing you in the new year. And all of the exciting things that'll happen. Our spring meeting will be in March, but we will be in touch with you before then. And please feel free to stick around, to chat with Garrett if you have questions about his Australia study tour. And thank you all for being here. Thank you so much, Garrett. That was wonderful.
That was really well done. It's a little bit like dumb.
Yeah.